All right, I'm making a cake and I'm decorating it with a camera lucida. This is an optical gadget from the 1800s that was used by scientists and artists too to trace out a scene in real life. It's really just a prism on a stick. You set it up pointed at a thing you want to draw, and if you look through it just right, you can see an image of your subject superimposed onto your paper. It doesn't actually project an image like a movie projector, but if you look through it, you get this kind of double vision, which lets you trace it out. Now, I'm not a trained cake decorator by any means. I'm a simple mathematician, but I like to make cakes for my kids. I'm a pretty bad artist, so I'm always looking for good ways to get the image I want onto the cake. And this thing ought to work, so let's try it. I'm making the America's Test Kitchen red velvet cake recipe, but without the red. I'll put the recipe in the description. For the frosting, I'm doing a cream cheese frosting, but with far less sugar than a typical recipe. I really don't like the typical frostings you get like at a bakery. Mine's a lot less sweet, and it also doesn't have that gritty texture that frosting usually has. I also just use a lot less frosting in general. I'm a grown-up. I can make it how I want. I'm going to use an antique Clair-Vue Camera Lucida. I made a whole video about it if you want to see more. Check it out. I got mine on eBay, but they're a little pricey. There are a few people making new ones these days, though. I got a little help from the Curiosity Box, who just released a new one. It's better than the old one in a lot of ways. You can get it with a subscription or just buy the Camera Lucida by itself. Use my promo code ORIGINAL25 to get 25% off. All right, I made the cake the night before, and then I got up and made the frosting. Did a little crumb coat, put it in the fridge for a couple hours, and now we're ready for the real business. I've never tried this before, so I'm not sure how it's going to go, but my idea is to use this thing to lay down the lines in the crumb coat, and then I can just go over them again freehand with the colored frostings. I spent quite a bit of time positioning everything just the way I wanted, and it was a bit harder than I expected. You know, when you use this thing for casual drawing, the image just kind of ends up somewhere on my paper, and then I trace it. But on the cake, I really need the image to be exactly where I want, and it's not exactly obvious how to move everything around so that the image is centered correctly on the cake and also at the proper scale. This took a lot of looking around and move the cake a little bit, then move the Camera Lucida arm a little bit, maybe move my iPad a little bit. I ended up getting it positioned where I wanted, but you'll see in a bit, it's not perfect. It doesn't help that my antique Camera Lucida arm is kind of restrictive. It telescopes up and down, but that's about it. It's kind of hard to adjust its position in 3D space just the way you want it. The Curiosity one is a lot better for this. It's got that bendy arm. It was actually easier to see the reflected image if I turned the lights off, because the reflection is kind of dim. For normal drawing, you might want to put lights onto your subject, but the iPad is bright on its own, so it works well in the dark. I decided to use a toothpick just to scratch out the lines. That worked pretty good. It's kind of hard to draw with no place to rest your hand, but I managed. All right, I got the lines on there looking good. The rest is just coloring everything in. This yellow ended up being much yellower than I wanted, but it's all right. In the end, I think it turned out pretty good. Probably not going to be my new go-to method. I really tried to line everything up right, but it looks like I still got a slight optical distortion in the results. If you look at the horizontal spacing, things are supposed to be symmetric, but you can see the right side is stretched out a bit more than the left. Check it out, I can fix it by skewing the image back with like a keystone type transformation. I think I just didn't get the angles right in my setup. Ideally, everything should be perfectly square right angles. The Camera Lucida sits directly above the middle of the cake, pointed directly at the middle of the subject image. I sort of just eyeballed it, and I guess it wasn't quite good enough. Still pretty good for this old thing. Have I discovered the most absurd hipster way to decorate a cake? And here I am before the guests arrive, and I sit with every hipster's greatest fear. What if nobody asks me how I made this thing? Is it even worth the ridiculous technique if there's nobody to explain it to? Well, that's why we have YouTube.